live here. Make sure live here. 1, 2, 3. I think so. Get my comment pinned. I think we got it. Are we live on? Make sure we're live on here. We're live there. Here. Are we on? Yes, we on TikTok. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great start to your day, whatever day it may be. I'll see what the topic is here today. We're going to talk about how to do your own PR, your own public relations. This topic is specifically aimed at anybody can use it, but I'm specifically making this with the entrepreneur in mind. Those of you out there who you have some game, you got something that you want to offer the world, or maybe you're already offering it, but for whatever reason, you feel like you need to get more attention, and you believe that with more attention, you could probably get more things done. If you believe that, you're right. The more attention that you can grab, because we're in an attention economy these days. So the more attention you can get and the more people you can get noticing you and what you're doing, assuming that you're any good, then the better, right? So if you're good at what you do and we were to get 10 times more people to see you, or 2 times more people, or even just 5 or 10 more people, period, to see what you're doing, then you give yourself a better chance of winning. I think we all agree with that. So public relations is a good thing. Generally, what public relations means, it means several things. I'm going to tell you what I mean for the context of all of you. But when you hear people talk about public relations these days, it's usually with some type of like a famous person. Let's say an actor or actress, maybe an athlete might have a PR team, depending on who they are, like a really famous athlete. Let's say someone like Ronaldo, or maybe LeBron James. LeBron probably has an internal PR team, but the president has a press team. We all know the president always has a press team, because there's a bunch of people whose job it is to report on what the White House is doing, and the president has a press secretary, and that person goes out and talks to the press every day and answers a bunch of questions, tells them what's going on, or tries to put some spin on it if they're trying to hide something or keep it away from the press. When I'm talking about public relations for all of you, it may not necessarily be that, because you may not have a whole cohort of people who are reporting on you and what you do every single day, the same way that the president does, or somebody who is super duper famous may have, let's say Oprah Winfrey or something like that. For you all, when I say public relations, what I'm referring to is you just making sure that you can keep your name out there, get your name, your likeness, your image circulating, the value that you bring to the table circulating, so that other people know that you have something to offer. And that PR will, in theory, is going to bring more people to know about you, know about your stuff, and hopefully they become customers, clients, fans, etc. So when I say PR, that's what I'm referring to. That's what we're talking about when it comes to public relations. So before we even get into this, let me tell you all a story, because years ago, I hired a public relations company. And that's why I'm even talking about this, because I have some experience working with public relations companies, and this is what led to me talking about what I'm talking about. So this is about 2015. I stopped playing, my background's in sports, and I stopped playing basketball in 2015, professionally at least. And I decided that I needed to rebrand myself and make sure that the world at large knew about me as this guy who talks about the kind of stuff y'all know about me for now. So many of you who didn't know me back in the basketball days, you know about me as this guy who's talking about business type stuff, or mindset, or marketing, or any of these personal development or professional development things. That's the angle that I knew, that's the space I knew I was going to go into after basketball. And I decided that if I get a PR company, they can help kind of get my name out there and get the point out faster than if I just try to do it on my own. I knew I was going to do it anyway. I knew I was going to pivot to not talking about basketball as much, and instead talking about personal and professional development. But I figured the PR company could help me do it better and faster. And long story short, hiring a PR company was a waste of time for me. I'm not saying all public relations is a waste of time. Some of you watching this, maybe you work in public relations, and when you're working with the right person for the right reason, then public relations makes a whole lot of sense as something to be hired for. At the same time, if you can follow what I'm going to share with you here today, I believe for many of you, especially those of you who are, let's say, solopreneur, or maybe you have a few people working for you, but you don't have a super huge team, then you can do a lot of your PR on your own as long as you have the right structure, systems, the right processes, and you know what you're doing. You know what you're actually trying to achieve in the process. So I remember when I hired this PR company, they were based down here in South Florida. I'm not going to say the name of the company. I think I remember the name of the company. I'm not going to say the name of the company or the person who I was working with, but I remember it wasn't an email. I called the guy. The main guy was this white guy who was running the company. Very nice guy, which is why I signed up in the first place. And after, I probably had them working for me for maybe 3 or 4 months, something like that. And then when I decided I was going to fire them because I saw what they were doing, actually, let me back up. I saw what they were doing. What they did for me, and I'm not going to say they were completely useless. They did a few things. They got me a couple of interviews. Some of them were like, of all the interviews they got me, let's say 8 to 10 interviews, media appearances. Like if you appear on somebody's podcast or YouTube channel, same way they do it these days. They were doing that for me. Instead of me doing it, they were doing it. So I would say about half of them were actually on the radio, believe it or not. So I got interviewed to be on radio shows like 5 times. And you wouldn't even think people appear on the radio these days if it's not also online. These were just straight radio, not online. And about 5 of those, and then about 5 of them were like podcast appearances, media appearances like that. Now, mind you, this is 2015. So I guess radio was still a thing that people angled towards. And there are people who still listen to the radio. They tend to be older, but there are people who listen to the radio. So then after about 3 months of that, and I was paying, it wasn't a lot of money. It was less than $1,000 a month. I was paying them for their services. I decided, no, I don't need these people. I could do it on my own because I had the skill to do the 3 things that I'm going to tell you about here today when I get into my points. And I called the main guy. He was like the head of the company. And I told him, hey, I'm going to end my relationship with you all. I'm basically told him that they were fired. And he said, okay, cool. He didn't say it like that, but he was like, okay. I guess he wanted to know why. And I told him, I said, the things that you all are doing is not really worth the financial investment. Like if they were just working for me and I didn't have to pay them, then I wouldn't let them keep doing it. I don't mind them getting me some interviews, but for what I was paying them, I figured I could do a whole lot of this on my own. And they're not really bringing anything to the table that I can't do myself, or there's even that different than anything I could do, again, with my own skills and my own internal. Even if I had one person working for me, I could get a lot of this done myself. So I dropped them. And I remember, here's the funny part. The main guy the company had he like an administrative assistant. And she's the one who handled like all the emails. She's the one who would send me like invoices, and she would make sure she coordinated the appearances. So if they booked an appearance for me, she would email me or call me or tell me what it was. And here's where you got to be. And at this time, call this number. They're going to call your phone, et cetera, et cetera. So his assistant. So after I got off the phone with him and told him that I was firing him, his assistant sent me an email. It was either that day or like early the next day. She sent me like this nasty email telling me, well, I guess she was mad. I don't know why she was mad, because she was just the assistant, but maybe some of the money that I was paying the company went to her. I don't know why she cared. But anyway, when I fired them, she sent me this nasty email. She was like, well, our company, we've done a lot of things for you. Getting these media appearances are not free and they cost a lot of money. And you need to understand that public relations is an investment. It's not something that you can just do for free. We worked really hard for you. And all the things that she was saying, actually, a bunch of it was a bunch of bullshit. She didn't know what she was talking about, or either she didn't know what she was talking about, or she was just trying to deceive me, one or the other. I don't know. And to this day, I don't know. I've never spoken to the woman again. And there are cases where, again, as I said, you could benefit from hiring a company to do public relations for you, but you can also do it on your own and be known. And I'm going to tell you how to do that here today. All right. So with all that background out of the way, let me introduce myself. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of 35 books and 4 TEDx talks, and created this brand called Work on Your Game. What we do here is we take the tools that help athletes get to the top of the sports world, and we translate them to make them work in the business world. Our goal is to help you perform at your highest level, do so consistently, and produce results. Those 3 things: performance, consistency, results. That's all we focus on here at Work on Your Game. And I'm going to give you 3 things, 3 simple things that any of you can do if you want to get better at doing your own public relations, so that you can get yourself seen, heard, and known out here. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. You could be working in corporate, like trying to get a job, or in the academic space, and you're trying to move up. And if you're just trying to move up, get known, establish your name, you could even be like the CEO of a company, and you just want to be more known because you just want to establish yourself as this powerful CEO. And maybe you want to write a book, or you want to be hired to give speeches, or you would like to give more interviews just so you can build your brand and just be more known as a CEO. Now, there are just well-known CEOs out there. Those of you who follow that type of stuff, there are CEOs out there who are famous just because of what they've done, because they've done so good at their job. So this can apply if you work in, like, as an employee, It also applies to people who are entrepreneurs. Now, again, I came up with this topic based on entrepreneurs. So if you're not an entrepreneur, you can still apply this, but understand the angle is based on people who are doing similar to things to what I do, and the type of people who I help, what they do. And we help people over by the way, over at workonyourgameuniversity.com. So point number one thing you need to do your own public relations is have a compelling presentation. Now, that's a very broad phrase. So what exactly does it mean? Having a compelling presentation means nobody is going to be interested. And when I say nobody, what I mean is people who have media platforms. So let's say if I had a TV show, I don't have a TV show, but let's say if I had a TV show and I need to have guests on my show every day, well, what kind of people do I want to have on the show? I'm going to have people who are interesting. I want to have people who, if I tell my audience, hey, I'm going to have person ABC on the show tomorrow, I'm going to have John Doe on my show tomorrow, then I want my fans to be excited that John Doe is going to be on the show. So having a compelling presentation is about having something that would make other people who have platforms interested in talking to you because they think their audience will be interested in hearing what you have to say. So a compelling presentation, folks, just means you need to be interesting. All right, what is it that's interesting about you? What's compelling about you? Do you have maybe just you personally is interesting? Like being famous alone is a good reason. So if someone had a TV show and I said, I'm going to have Jennifer Lopez on my show tomorrow, a bunch of you would tune in to watch the show, not because of me, but because you want to see Jennifer Lopez. You want to hear what she has to say. She doesn't even have to have anything going on. She don't have to have a new movie or a new album or anything happening. Just the fact that she is her is going to make people watch the show. That's a compelling presentation. Now you may ask, well, what if I'm not Jennifer Lopez? What if I'm not that famous? What you can do, and this is the thing that I do these days, you need to figure out what is it about you and about your presentation that would make somebody interested. So you just got to dig into yourself, dig into your brand, dig into your story or your approach or whatever it is, and tell people why you are interesting. So to give you some examples, let's take somebody who was let's say somebody was in the military and they got their leg blown off in the military, but they were able to survive. And now they're in a wheelchair, but they become a motivational speaker telling people how they can keep going even when things go terrible for them. That person is interesting to a certain audience. So there's an audience of people who want to hear that. And the people who run a show might say, well, let's get this guy. Nobody's ever heard of him, but he has a great story. So you don't have to be worldwide famous and you don't have to be name brand. Like somebody says your name and everybody knows who it is. So I do a lot of media appearances myself, appearing on people's podcasts, YouTube shows, etc., getting interviewed for like written articles and things like that. And it's not because if I reach out to them and I say, hey, my name is Dre Baldwin, they're like, oh my God, Dre Baldwin, we got to interview him. Nobody knows who I am. Most of the time, they don't know who I am. So when I'm reaching out to them, the thing I got to tell them is something about my background or my approach or my system or something about what I'm doing that makes me interesting, because on name alone is not enough. So if you're Barack Obama or Oprah Winfrey or Jennifer Lopez or LeBron James, just your name alone does the trick. But for all the rest of us who are not that famous, you have to figure out what is it about you that makes you compelling and interesting. And another thing about this is you want to choose the right angle. So when I say choose the angle, what that means is what's interesting about you may be interesting to some audiences, but not to others. So let's say I just had this brand new way that a basketball player can get good at basketball. Let's just say that was my story, my angle, and there's a great angle. Then who am I going to reach out to? I'm probably not going to reach out to like the Oprah Winfrey Show, because most of Oprah's audience are not people who want to learn how to play basketball. But I will reach out to some podcaster who has a really popular podcast about how to get good at basketball. He has an audience of basketball players. Those are the people I want to reach out to, or some popular YouTuber who helps basketball players get better. And I'll answer all the questions at the end, by the way. So this is compelling is relative. That's what the point that I want to make. So compelling is relative. You don't have to be, again, if you're world famous, then you can probably get on any show, any platform, anytime you want, just because you're famous. If you're not famous, and I'm guessing that most of you who are listening to this are not famous, then you need to figure out what is it about you and your approach that would be interesting to which audiences. So you got to pick and choose. So if I'm talking about something like, for example, I appear on a lot of shows that are talking about like mindset, or motivation or discipline or confidence, things like that. I appear on a lot of those platforms because my material is relevant to that audience. But if somebody has a podcast about finance or the stock market or investing, or they talk about current events and political news, I'm not going to appear on one of those platforms. I won't even try because I don't talk about that stuff. So I don't really have much to say about it. And when you're world famous, they'll bring you on to talk about anything, even if it's not related to what you're famous for, just because of your name. So those of you who aren't that, again, I'm not world famous. It's not like I walk in the mall and everybody knows me. You just need to figure out what is it about you that would make somebody interested in what you have to say. So this is about just figuring out your personality, figuring out your approach, your brand, and all of that. Everybody got it? Good. Point number 2. We're talking here today about how to do your own public relations. Number 2, you got to learn how to pitch. What is a pitch? Pitch just means, this is 80% of the game, by the way, the pitch. And it goes with point number 1. So what I told you in point number 1 is figuring out what is it that's compelling about you, what's interesting about you, what is it that you bring to the table to make people interested in you. The pitch is how you share that. The pitch is just the part about how you communicate what's interesting. So the first part is having a compelling presentation. In other words, making something, figuring out what is interesting about you. Might be more than one thing, might be one thing, whatever it is. The pitch is how do you actually tell people that you're interesting. So that if you're going to do it on video, if you want to send an email, you want to text somebody, you want to send them a DM, you want to go outside and make sure and just do something so people pay attention to you. The pitch is 80% of the game, ladies and gentlemen. This is the game, is how you communicate it. It's not what it is you have to say, it's how you get it across, because the way you get it across will determine whether somebody gets the point or they don't get the point. So if I'm talking to some basketball podcaster and I have a great new idea that will help any basketball player, if I'm not good at explaining what makes me interesting, then they might say no. They might turn me down just because I didn't explain it too well. And if I explain it really well, then I might get somebody who has a soccer podcast to listen, because the framework of how I do it could apply to soccer the same way it applies to basketball. So the pitch is the whole game. So, for example, I've done 4 TEDx talks, and people sometimes ask me, how do you do TEDx? Or how you can get to do a TEDx talk? To get booked to do something like that, let's say professional speaking, media appearances, TED Talks, those kind of things. All of it is all about the pitch. It's just all about how you present your idea, how you present yourself, how you talk about it. That's how you get a yes or a no. It's all in the pitch. And the pitch is just a sales pitch. So when I say pitch, that's what I mean, sales pitch. Even if you're not selling anything per se, like you're not asking for money, you're still selling. You're selling yourself. You're selling your idea. You're selling the concept that you should talk to me because, and then you fill in the blank with whatever is the reason. So another example, like my background is in sports. I told you I played basketball professionally for 9 years. I came out of a Division III college. So at a Division III college, most of the time pro teams are not checking for people who come out of Division III schools. So I had to figure out how to pitch and sell myself to get the opportunities that I ended up getting. Because if I hadn't gotten good at selling and pitching myself and talking about myself, I never would have got the opportunity. It was based on my ability to market and pitch myself just because of where I came from. Now, had I gone to like some big time school and just played, maybe I could just play and that would be enough. But in lots of the world, especially those of you who are entrepreneurs, and especially these days, because I started playing ball, it was like 2005 when I started playing pro. These days, if you want to get yourself seen and known, you can't just be good. Some of you might be lucky enough that you could just be so good that that's all you need. There's a book by Cal Newport called So Good They Can't Ignore You. Most of the time, that's not enough. You got to do more stuff. And what that means is, how do you talk about yourself? Where are you positioning yourself? How are you marketing yourself? And who are you talking to? All of those things help you get yourself seen, because in the world today, look at where we are. So right now I'm live on Rumble, YouTube, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. And the thing is, everybody who is watching me right now, you could be broadcasting a message out to the world the same way that I'm broadcasting a message out to the world. And that means you are competing against damn near anybody with a phone to get attention. And when you're trying to compete against everybody who has a phone, well, first of all, damn near everyone has a phone, right? Everyone has a phone and Wi-Fi connection, at least let's say in the United States, damn near everybody has one. So there's so much noise out there. Noise is just everything that's being broadcast that you're not really trying to hear. You have to do something to cut through the noise. So just being good alone might not be enough, because that will require people coming and finding you. Instead, you want to do things to where you are finding them. This is about the pitch. And again, this is about selling. And when you're a salesperson, folks, you can't just sit back and wait for the customers to come to you. You have to go to them. Sometimes you got to go to them and say, hey, pay attention. Listen to what I'm saying. I got something that you actually want. So skill matters. Yes. Presentation matters. Yes. But you can have both of those and still remain anonymous. You just got to learn how to sell yourself. Learn how to sell yourself and sell your stuff. And there's a lot of people out there who talk about sales. I talk about sales as well. And you just want to be able to tell somebody who is the right audience, who has the right audience, why you and your stuff is valuable and or useful for them. That's it. That's all pitch is. And point number 3, we're talking here today about how to be your own public relations. Third thing is, let's get a definition of public relations. It just means the professional maintenance of a favorable public image by a company, organization, or a famous person. So it's just a favorable public image. So let's talk about that term. Public image does not mean the whole world. The whole world does not need to know who you are, what you're about, and what you do. It's just the right people need to know who you are, what you're about, what you do. If you're a basketball coach, for example, you don't need everybody to know who you are. You just need a school or a team who might hire you as their coach. You need them to know about you. Now, you don't need everyone to know about you. You just need the right people. So if you write books, for example, you don't need everybody to know about you. You just need the people who read books to know about you, because not everybody reads books. So public means the people who are actually interested or might be interested in what you're bringing to the table. That's what I mean when I say public. So public relations does not mean, everybody catch this, doesn't mean the whole world has to know about you. It just means the people in your world need to know about you. So if you're let's say if you're a rocket scientist, for example, you don't need people who don't pay attention to the scientific world to know that you exist. But you can be very, very famous in the science world because you're really good at what you do. So these days there are conferences with damn near every subject. So there are dentists, for example, when they go to the grocery store, nobody knows who they are. Nobody would even know they're a dentist. But when they go to the dentist conference, the National Dentist Conference every year, whatever it's called, they're getting mobbed and people want to take pictures with them because they're the most famous dentists. So when I say public relations, just means your public. Who is your public? Who do you need to be known by? And for what reason? All right, that's what public relations is about. And by the way, I got 4 points. Thought I had 3. I actually have 4. So public relations, again, what image do you want to project? Who do you want people, what do you want people to know you for? And who are the people you want to know you? And how can you get it across? What makes it sticky? All of these are keys to your public relations. Now, again, there are companies who can help do this for you, but I would suggest you do it for yourself, because the better you can explain yourself, the better you understand yourself, the easier it will be for you to get that point across to anyone else. But if you have a PR company doing it for you, well, first of all, they might fumble the ball because they're managing more than one client and they're just trying to get material out. And they may be able to get you stuff just because of who they are, not because of who you are, which is not a bad thing. That can actually be a good thing. Let's say I hired a big PR firm in Manhattan. They could get me in the Forbes magazine next month just because of who they are, because I paid enough money. Well, that could possibly help me. But in the big picture, I'd rather be able to talk about it myself, especially those of you who are starting out. If you started out by yourself, maybe you have a team now, maybe it's still just you. The better you are able to explain yourself, the easier it will be to get other people to do it for you at some point in the future. And again, there are some people who start out, they never had to figure it out on their own. Let's say a politician, athlete, musician, etc. But the rest of us, you got to figure this out. And when you know it, it's easier to communicate it to other people. And point number 4, this is the last point. We're talking today about how to be your own public relations. Number 4, be consistent. Because if you want people to know you for something, you got to do it consistently, right? Any of you who wants to be known for anything, you got to make sure you're doing it often enough that people come to associate that behavior, activity, story, etc. with your name. So you can't just do it one time and everybody knows you. That's not how it works. Like, think about anyone who is known for anything. How do you get to know them? You know them because they're doing it over and over and over again. Every time you see them, they're doing something that has to do with that thing. And if you do too many different things, then people may come to be confused about what you're bringing to the table. So this is why the consistency matters a lot. So professional maintenance happens on a consistent basis. That's an ongoing thing. Is one of the selling points that PR folks will tell you. If you talk to a public relations company, and I've spoken to many, I hired one, but I've spoken to many, they'll tell you, like, one of the biggest things we do is maintain your image. So if there's something on the internet about you that you don't want to be known, they do the work to get it off the internet. They'll get it scrubbed off the internet so that story goes away, or they'll get it buried so that nobody can find it when they try to Google you. This is part of your professional part of your professional maintenance. So consistently putting out the right message, getting rid of the wrong messages, burying the messages that you don't want seen, doing damage control. If you do something crazy, there's some crazy video or picture of you out there, they can do those things. You can do those same things yourself. All right. Good thing about Googling these days is most people don't go past the first page. So whatever's on the first page is pretty much what people are going to know about you. And you're going to apply that to damn near any app. You look yourself up, whatever comes up, that's what people are pretty much going to know, because people are generally lazy. So it's not like they're going to do a deep dive on you. They're just going to go off of what they see. So if you're consistently putting something out there in a certain way, then you basically dominate it. So all of you listening to this who want to use this, go online and look yourself up. on whatever search engine you like to use and see what you see. And if you like what you see, do more of those things. And if you don't like what you see, or maybe if you haven't done much, maybe your name isn't even coming up, people can't even find you, then you need to start putting things out there so you can start getting known on things that are, let's say, search friendly. So when it comes to Google, of course, they like words. So if you have a blog or something like that, or you've been interviewed, those will come up. Whatever you have on YouTube, YouTube is like the online version of television. You probably want to go there. There are other video platforms, like you could do video on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, but YouTube is owned by Google. So I think most of you know that. So if you Google yourself, you're going to see YouTube videos, not LinkedIn videos. For the most part, you're going to see YouTube. So if you do anything visual that can be seen, I would suggest you get videos on YouTube with your name connected to it so that people can find you, and get interviewed, because that's also good as well. So other people talking about you is a positive thing. And again, manage this. This is management. PR is management. It is an ongoing process. So if you're going to do this yourself, understand it is work, that you do have to do something. It doesn't just happen randomly. Again, unless you happen to be super duper famous and people are just saying good stuff about you all day, every day. If you're a LeBron James or Oprah, that happens. But for the rest of us, again, you got to do some actual work, and those people have people working for them. So that's why it seems like all that stuff is just happening, but it's actually not. All right, so let me recap these points. Anybody got a question or comment, put it in the comment section. I'll address it right now. We're talking about how to do your own public relations. Number one, have a compelling presentation. That just means something interesting about you that will make other people interested. And again, doesn't have to be everybody, just got to be the right people. Number two, learn how to pitch. This is 80% of the game. How do you talk about yourself? How do you put yourself out there? What point do people get about you when they hear your name? Or when they see you for the first time? What is the image they're going to get of you? That's all based on what you say about yourself. All right, your personal brand starts with what you say about yourself, because everybody else picks up on that. And if they repeat it, they're repeating what you said. They're not just coming up with something on their own. So figure out what it is that is compelling about you that makes other people, again, certain people, interested in you and wanting to learn more. Definition of public relations is the professional maintenance of a favorable public image by a company, organization, or famous person. So what image do you want to project? What do you want people to think about you, or say about you, or see or read about you when they look you up? And if you don't know what the answer is, or you're not sure where to begin, look yourself up right now, see what comes up. If you're a public figure, or you want to be a public figure, look yourself up, see what comes up. If you like it, do more of that stuff. If you don't like it, fix it. All right, do something about it. Or if you don't see anything, then, and you want there to be something there, then start putting material out there so people can know your name. And number four, be consistent. So professional maintenance is an ongoing process, just like maintenance is an ongoing process. Any building you've been in, you see maintenance men in there or maintenance women working. And how often do they work? Usually they're every day, right? Because maintenance has to keep going. If nobody cleans the bathroom for a whole day, the bathroom's going to be trashed. So maintenance is an ongoing process. Public relations, part of it is maintenance, just making sure that your name is what you want it to be. People are saying what you want them to say. People get the impression that you want them to get. Just make sure you're doing that on a consistent basis. So with all that said, you have a question or comment, put it in the comment section right now. You want to work with me directly, Work on Your Game University is the name of our platform. That's where we do it. If you just click the link in my bio on whatever app or the pinned comment, wherever you are, you'll see the link. It's called Work on Your Game University, and .com is the website. So let's see what we got over on TikTok. I don't see that much. I started a little bit late today, so maybe I think some people figured maybe I wasn't going live. I started later than usual. Usually I start these at 8 o'clock, by the way. So people who like these lives, come on here at 8 o'clock. That's when I start the lives. Usually 8 o'clock. Today I started about 8:30, but usually it's about 8 o'clock. Let me see. Do I have a comment? I don't think anybody asked a question today. Maybe I was just so perfect that nobody had any. Shout out to the people who came in and followed. Lottie, what's going on? Good morning. Phil said, did you play ball at Finley Playground? That's not how you spell my name. It's D-R-E. But Phil the reporter, yes, I did. I did play ball at Finley Playground. What's your name, Phil? I'm assuming your name is Phil, but which Phil? I knew more than one Phil from that playground. But shout out to you, Phil the reporter. Appreciate the #1 gifter badge, Smart Shield Incorporated. Smart Shield, I thought you was going to hit us up. I thought you were going to come into the university. Go to the university page if you're going to join us. Let me see what we got on Instagram. If you got a question or comment on Instagram, go ahead and post it. If you have one on, I'll come back to TikTok. TikTok, the feed goes pretty quickly. I can't see everything. I didn't see any on Instagram. So Thought So Road play ball together. That's what's up. Shout out to Phil. Shout out to Finley Playground. Shout out to Mount Airy, Uptown. All right, that's what's up, Smart Shielding. All right, so everybody, I do these lives, as I told you, 8 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday, not on the weekends. Official Mark Tirolia says, how do you narrow it down when you're an octopus, meaning you're great at many things? That's a great question, because I have more than one skill. I used to play basketball. I talk about mindset. I could talk about business. I could talk about people skills, talk about communication. You want to figure out something that kind of encompasses what you want to be about. And at some point, you got to narrow down so you can drop some things. So I don't know. I don't often talk about basketball. I mention it when I just say I used to play, or if I'm telling a story. But for the most part, these days, my focus is on personal and professional development for entrepreneurs. Andy Chu was going on over there on YouTube. So it's figuring out who is it that you want to be known to, who's your audience and the people that you really want to be known to. That's really the question that you ask. So I'm giving you a question in response to your question so that you can figure out where you want to focus. It doesn't mean the other things you have to stop doing, but you want to figure out where you want to focus so that when people come into your world, if they're interested in something else, maybe you have something else, but also you want to be targeting a certain type of person. So when those people are coming in because of the thing that you emphasize, then maybe they'll find out about the other things. And when you focus on a specific target, those other things, it's not like they stop mattering, because people will come in even if they're not the target person. So to give you an example, it's the link in my bio, Hugh Brown. It's just workonyourgameuniversity.com. So if you go to my bio you're on TikTok, just click on my profile and you'll see it is workonyourgameuniversity.com. And so look at a company like Apple, for example. Apple's target customer is, I don't know if people do this anymore. Actually, I think they do. But y'all remember when the new iPhone was coming out? Like, I'm talking like 5, maybe 10 years ago, when a new iPhone came out, and there are people who would like sleep outside in sleeping bags or tents just so they could be the first ones to buy the phone. You remember that back in the day? I don't know if people do it anymore. I see people standing in line outside the Apple store these days, but I don't know if they're the same type of people. But back then, when it was a thing to sleep outside the store to be the first one to buy the phone, those are Apple's ideal customers. Right? So the ideal customers for Apple are those people. Now, I don't know if any of you has ever slept outside of an Apple store just so you could buy the phone, but many of you still have the iPhone, right? I got the iPhone, but I would never sleep outside of a store to buy. I don't think there's anything I would sleep outside of a store so I can be the first one to buy it. I can't think of a single product, but I still have the iPhone, even though I'm not their target. I'm not their ideal target customer. The ideal target customer is this person who's just this like tech geek, let's say. I'm not a tech geek. I use a lot of technology stuff and digital items and stuff like that, but I'm not a geek. Apple's ideal customer is a geek, yet they still have customers who are not geeks. You get it? So just because you are not targeting a specific person doesn't mean those people won't still come into your world. So we have an ideal audience that we have for our university, yet we still get people who are outside of the bullseye. It's like a dartboard. You see a dartboard, you got the bullseye. That's like who you're targeting. But then you got all these other circles that even if you don't hit the bullseye, you hit one of those circles, you still get some points, right? So that's the way I would explain it. So what's my thoughts on how to build that? That would be I would have to give a whole live on that one, official Mark, on how to build a brand. That's a whole conversation. The books behind me are my books. The ones you can see are my books. I have other books that are not mine, but you can't see them. So the ones that you can see, these are mine. And if you go to workonyourgame.com/books, then you can see all these books listed on the same page. Hugh Brown. Okay, did you find the link? Hugh Brown 64 is the link in my bio. And Halajoy Johnson, what's going on? And Smurf Frog, could I describe them a bit? I've written 35 books. So that would take a whole another 30 minutes for me to describe each book. So if you go to workonyourgame.com/books. Now the link in my bio is for the university. That's our coaching program. That's our main focus. You want to get one of the books, go to workonyourgame.com/books. And let me check because I can't remember if it's with the www or not. I keep messing it up and forgetting which one it is, but let me check. And I'm giving you the link to the books. The person who's asking is workonyourgame.com/books with an S on the end, but I always forget if it's with the www or not because it goes to two different websites depending on which one you go to. So it's not that one. So it's without the www. So let me do it again. So if you go to workonyourgame.com, I'm checking right now, see if it opens up. Top 3 books would be the third day, this red book right here, The Mirror of Motivation, which is that book right there. Those are the top 2. And then we bundle all books together. So it'd just be the top 2. I don't think there's another one that's close to those 2. Those 2 are the biggest. Mirror of Motivation, third. So it's workonyourgame.com/books. Here's the page right here. Don't put in the www. So workonyourgame.com/books without the www, and we got different domains and different connections. So you go there, you'll see the books. Top 2 is Mirror Motivation, the black one. Third day is the red one. And we sell them in bundles. So you get one, we'll offer you more. Any new books coming? Yes, I got a bunch of new books coming. What we're doing right now is I'm getting some people working on some back end stuff, like making funnels and stuff for me, because I don't want to spend more time building funnels. And the only reason we didn't drop more books this year, at least so far, we might still do it this year. Only reason I didn't drop any new books this year is simply because I just want to get somebody else building a funnel. So I'm not doing it. I'm weaning myself off making funnels. So as soon as I get the right people in place who can build funnels for me and do it well and do it quickly, then we'll put new books. So I got like 5, 6, maybe 7 books already ready to go out. But I just haven't put them out yet because I'm not building a funnel. I just decided I'm not building any more funnels unless I'm doing it for a member of our university. If I'm doing it as a copywriter, then I will build funnels for other people, but I'm not building any of my own funnels anymore. I could get somebody else doing it. Steven said you ordered the overseas book off of Amazon. Oh, that's what's up. You should have got it from us. We would have offered you a better deal. But either way, if you get the book, we're good. We're happy either way. You get the game one way or another, we good with it. All right. Official Mark said, we'll definitely appreciate your content. Yeah, just be on the lives when I do it Monday through Friday, starting at 8 a.m. Eastern. Usually we start at 8 a.m. At the latest, I'll start at around 8:30, but anywhere between 8 and 8:30, that's when I start these lives, by the way. And sometimes we talk mindset. Sometimes we talk business. Sometimes we talk communication. And usually somewhere in those realms, anything personal, professional development, that's what we talk about. And every once in a while, I'll talk about current events. So I will talk about the election coming up. I'll talk about that. And what is it now? We're in like almost mid-September. So the election is maybe about 6-7 weeks away. So I will do a live where I'm going to talk about why I think Kamala will win. I'll do another one where I tell you why I think Trump will win. And then I'll also do one where I just tell you what I think you should do, period, just when it comes to the whole election, not who to vote for, but the mindset you can have around it so y'all don't get caught up in this stuff. This election stuff tends to get people too engaged. And I think the more important thing is focusing on what you're doing, not what the politicians are doing, even if you pay attention to politics. But anyway, we'll get into that at a different time. So sometimes it's what I said, current events. Every once in a while I'll do current events, but most of the time it's personal, professional development. All right, everybody got it? All right, so workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to work with me directly, workonyourgame.com/books with an S on the end if you want to get the books. And if you get confused about any of that, you can just send me a DM wherever any of you is. Andy, too, you got Dre Philosophy Volume 0. That was a long book. we had to keep working on the margins and stuff just to make it fit because there's a limit to how many pages you can have in a book. I think they wouldn't let us print more than like 800 pages. That book is like 790 pages, something like that. Last time I checked. Anyway, everybody, have a great Friday. Y'all know where to find me, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you all again. We'll be back live again on Monday. Out of here.